If for some reason I had to make an impromptu trip to hell and I could only use a handgun to make it back, the HK Mark 23 makes a good case for why it should be that handgun. For you 80s babies out there, you know the Mark 23 as the Metal Gear Solid gun. Touted as one of the most thoroughly tested handguns in history, the HK Mark 23 was literally designed to never die. The Mark 23 is like the NBA regular season. It never plays defense. They designed the Mark 23 to be an offensive pistol for entry into the offensive handgun weapon system program, i.e. the gun you use to go looking for the bad guy instead of waiting for him to come to you. HK developed the Mark 23 for entry into the offensive handgun weapon system program as requested by the U.S. Special Operations Command. Essentially, the organization that directs the activities of every military badass on the planet, from the Navy SEALs to the Army Special Forces. So why would the U.S. Special Operations Command adopt a gun that for all intents and purposes looks like the polymer version of a Desert Eagle? Maybe the fact that they shot 30,000 rounds of plus P ammo through it before it started to eat itself alive. Or that they were able to shoot on average 6,000 rounds through the Mark 23 before it jammed. But I'm sure the 4 groups of 0.5 inches from 25 meters with 5 rounds going through the same hole also had something to do with it. Depending on who you ask, the Mark 23 either looks like a bloated USP or RoboCop's off-duty concealed carry gun. I'm partially obsessed with the looks of the USP, so visually, the Mark 23 makes me all warm and tingly on the inside. The Mark 23 has a very utilitarian beauty to it. It's a brutishly handsome gun with classic lines that prevent the gun's looks from ever really aging. I believe 20 to 30 years from now, the Mark 23 will still look relevant and fresh next to whatever silly laser blasters that will surely be in use 20 to 30 years from now. When you just look at the Mark 23, it's a massive behemoth of a gun. However, when you actually get your hands around it, it just feels like a bigger than usual gun. I have small hands and the grips didn't really overwhelm me. I was able to maintain control of the gun without very much stress. The grip texture is aggressive, but the overall ergonomic language of the gun is a little dated. There are no fancy replaceable back straps or alien-like grip textures and contours. It's quite literally just a grip with some texturing. Of all the double action, single action triggers I've pulled, I want to say the Mark 23 is the best. But see, the thing is, kind of like that weird moment when you try to recall everyone you've ever slept with, I feel like I'm forgetting someone. The Mark 23 trigger isn't some super slick tricked out trigger with a 1-pound pull. Granted, it is a match grade trigger, which in my mind is the most elusive concept in the gun industry, as there really is no true barometer for match grade. The Mark 23 trigger is just your standard double action, single action trigger done exceptionally well. Or it's just a match grade trigger, if you must. What you get is a very clean 11.4 pound double action pull and a 5.17 pound single action pull with little to no creep. The reset is predictably short. The trigger itself is textured, making finger placement a no-brainer. The trigger guard is so big, I could fire the gun with my fist if I wanted to. The trigger really does make shooting this meteorite of a handgun easier to shoot though. The slide on the Mark 23 is what gives this gun its larger-than-life presence. The slide is a one-piece machine steel slide. Every time I rack the Mark 23, I feel like I'm closing the door to a bank vault. It's my favorite part of the gun because it's so arrogantly massive. It also serves as the greatest reflection of how beautifully over-engineered this gun truly is. With a 5.87-inch threaded barrel, the Mark 23 could pass for a rifle, its barrel is so long. I have no doubt the long barrel length and resulting 7.76-inch sight radius play a large role in this gun's jaw-dropping accuracy. More on that later. There's a lot going on with this gun in the safety department. The left side of the Mark 23 looks like an industrial art exhibition. There are levers on top of levers and surface indentations, which turn out to be the frame-mounted silent decocking lever and ambidextrous safety lever. However, my experience has proven that there is nothing really all that quiet about the silent decocker, which is supposed to aid in operational stealthiness. The safety is easy to engage, but you can only engage it when the hammer is back. So yes, you can carry this bad boy cocked and locked. Now, I could go on a diatribe about how the universal mounting grooves for installing accessories don't actually universally mount anything. But considering the Mark 23 was developed before 1913 Picatinny rails were all the rage, I'm gonna let the Mark 23 make it. Just know that if it ain't HK or some HK proprietary feature, or you buy some gaudy adapter, it likely won't fit on the Mark 23. Personally, I love the HK's paddle magazine release, even though some people hate it. Granted, I can't exactly reach it on the Mark 23, but for me completely changing my grip and contorting my wrist like I'm throwing up gang signs. The magazines do drop free and clear in a hurry, like they never wanted to be there in the first place though. And that I can get down with. Considering the sheer mass of this gun, you'd think it'd have a capacity comparable to a belt-fed minigun. However, this would be completely and utterly incorrect. Now don't get me wrong, 12 rounds of 45 is nothing to sneeze at, but when the host of said 12 rounds is damn near the size of my iPad, 12 rounds seems a bit uninspiring. The FNX 45 Tactical is noticeably smaller than the Mark 23, and it has 15 rounds. Hell, the HK USP 45 Tactical has 12 rounds, and that's supposed to be the little brother to the Mark 23. Just looking at its size and mass, the Mark 23 can look a bit intimidating to shoot, but it's actually one of the easier guns to shoot. You can literally feel HK's pattern and recoil reduction system working to fight off all sensations of recoil, like white blood cells fighting off an infection. You pull the trigger expecting a violent jolt. Instead, all you get is quite a bit of muzzle flip and a nice but powerful thud. Shooting the Mark 23 fast is no easy task, due to the unavoidable muzzle flip you get from having a 2-mile-long barrel and slide. However, the trigger is a fast trigger and helps with the process of speed shooting. I kept shooting faster than the gun could get back on target, so had to make a conscious effort to slow down a bit and wait for my sights to get back on target. Bouncing from target to target wasn't too bad. You didn't really notice all of the mass of the gun, but then again, you did. Let's just say I won't be breaking any speed records with the Mark 23 anytime soon. The way the Mark 23 points is so lovely though. Instinctive shooting with the Mark 23 was simply beautiful. The 9 feet slide just acted like a laser beam to the target, so point shooting was a breeze. The Mark 23 is the only handgun I've been able to use to make a hit on a man-sized target from 180 yards twice within the first 4 shots. I was able to repeat this several times, so luck had nothing to do with it. The gun is just simply inherently accurate. And with the awesome sight radius on this thing, I might as well have been shooting a rifle. Okay, maybe not. In total, the Mark 23 has a place in my heart because it makes shooting feel so damn epic. I feel I can remember every round I shot through the gun because it makes each shot so memorable. Yes, it's big, but not so big that it renders it useless. You can put in work with this gun, which is why I hate that people are so quick to turn the Mark 23 into a novelty item. Desert Eagles are novelties because they're so much bigger than their functional use. They're hard to shoot, unwieldy, not very reliable, and have the ergonomics of a bowling ball with no holes in it. The Mark 23, yes big, is incredibly reliable, relatively easy to shoot, incredibly accurate, and though a bit dated, still way more ergonomic than the Desert Eagle and guns like it can ever wish to be. Say what you want about the size, weight, and mass of the Mark 23, but it's no novelty. At the time, it was a gun ahead of its time and should be respected as such. If you ask me, it's an engineering marvel.